New Arts and Media Studios in Milwaukee. I'm Charles Purcell. This is The Log, coming to you, as I often do, with mixed feelings. There's some very good people doing some very good work in the resistance. So many people out in the streets, so many people organizing. I just saw a post from Indivisible, which I thought was pretty good. Some pretty good concrete advice, similar to what you and I talked about on Thursday, the Christopher Armitage series of articles on what blue states should be doing and indeed are doing to fight back against the regime. So there's just such good work on so many fronts, and that's good. That's great. I said mixed feelings because I still see so much complacency or turning a blind eye, just not wanting to know. So many of us in our daily lives, I just know this through personal experience and just because I have eyes and ears, watching the popular culture, Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce and, things like that. Just operating as though everything's fine. It's very odd because everything's not fine. So there you are. Other people doing really good work are, I'll name one, but she's just one of many, and that's Heather Cox Richardson. People who are smart, educated, insightful, obviously empathetic and caring. They really want the world to be a better place. They want the best for all of us. It's just some people, there's I get fooled once in a while by people and their intentions. I'll admit it. I'm not the greatest judge of character in the world. But there are some people, there's just no denying. You can see it. And that's great. And Heather Cox Richardson, of course, she's, if you're not familiar, she's an historian by trade. She's very active, posting, speaking, writing every day on our current situation, trying to help us understand it. And I guess that's what I'm getting to. There are lots of people like her, kind of academics or talking heads, pundits. I wouldn't call her a pundit, although she's certainly evolving from just an historian, to a commentator on current events with a definite point of view. So, yeah, she is kind of turning into a talking head pundit, but in the best sense of that word, or those words. So there's that whole sort of class of people helping us to understand. Some of those, and I've criticized them in the recent past here, they're obviously just in it for the clicks. There's a whole army of YouTubers. And on an individual basis, they're fine. They're giving us information every day, curating the main stories and commenting on them. That's fine in and of itself. That's basically what I'm doing. But my effort is always to give you something you can use, to give you some insight that maybe you haven't thought about. This army of YouTubers I'm talking about, they seem to be in it for the clicks. You've heard the term outrage porn? Yeah, how can I be more outraged? And, from my seat as I sit right now, that's a tempting road to go down. But I'll be honest, when I try to go in that direction, my words fail me because they're so inadequate. How many insults, what degree of sarcastic language and insulting language can I find to describe what's going on? And not only the Orange Menace, but his sycophants. And not only them, but, the two or three we keep mentioning around here, Stephen Miller and Russ Vought, really running the country. Stephen Miller seems to be at the forefront of everything, especially regarding immigration and all the racist policies. And Russ Vought on all the domestic policies and cost cutting, getting everybody fired and getting all loyalists into key positions, or not just key positions, but literally every position of the federal government, all the Project 2025 stuff. So I run out of words. I just can't do it anymore. I think that's why people, kind of the normies, which is a very useful word. Maybe it's kind of dated now. But just regular folks who know this is all wrong, they love Jon Stewart and they love Seth Meyers and Stephen Colbert because they can voice this frustration and this rage in a way that's cathartic. But, boy, number one, a couple things here. Number one, I can't do that. That's not me. I'm not going to write a comedy monologue. I don't have a team of 25 writers. That's not what I'm going to do. And even if I could, I don't want to do that. I always go back to this article I read way back in the day when Jon Stewart, in his first or second year of just really blowing up, he's on the cover of magazines, and everybody's talking about Jon Stewart and The Daily Show when it really, really hit. And this one article I'll never forget, and it's always stayed with me, warning us that taking so much pleasure in being on the right side, in criticizing at the time George W. Bush and the Iraq invasion and the torture and Guantanamo and the whole bit, there was plenty to be angry about. But the criticism of this article, and I wish I could cite the author, I don't remember who it was, warned us against just getting very comfortable. Well, I put my half hour in watching Jon Stewart, and I know I'm on the right side, and that's all I'll do now. That's it. I just feel like, well, there's nothing more I can do or should do. It's just a very self-satisfying way of approaching the problems of the world. Well, I'm on the right side. I have the right thoughts, and my team is the right team. And this very popular comedian/commentator is saying everything just perfectly, and I'm loving it. And that's my activism for the day, basically. I thought that was a good warning, and it stayed with me ever since. I think a lot of us do fall into that. My heart's in the right place. I love the right people, and I hate the right people. Yeah, I think that's a very dangerous approach. We just have to put this into action. We absolutely have to put it into action, and there are just endless ideas out there. I keep going back, and I'll continue to remind you of the big ones. 50/50.1 I mentioned a couple of minutes ago. Oh no, Indivisible is the one I mentioned. Yeah, they're fantastic. They've got lots of good ideas, lots of good resources. People's Union USA, they're the ones organizing all the boycotts. The General Strike, generalstrikeus.com, they're trying to get that together. So important. No Kings, very big on the big rallies. I think October 18th is the next really big one. They want that to be bigger than the first. And of course, ACLU on the legal side of things, they're just heroes in this world right now. So there's just no shortage. I guarantee you have a mutual aid organization near you. And on the chance that you don't, then you can start one, because mutual aid is such an important part of our resistance. But anyway, I'm trying always to inspire, to share some thoughts that maybe will help you to look at things a little differently and to shake you out of your slumber. Now, when I say you, I don't mean you. I just mean the general you, the general we. Because as I said, many people are doing great work, so I'm not going to paint with a broad stroke here. But so far, it's not enough. We know that. So many people are so steeped in electoral politics. It's the only way they can think. Now, of course, it's an important part of the overall strategy here, but boy, it can't be the only thing or even the primary thing that we're concerned about. Electoral politics is not the way to go. It's part of it, but it's well within the realm of possibility. that the 26 midterms will be meaningless. The regime has already accomplished more than even the worst warnings. Those of us who were really voicing the deepest and loudest concerns, even for some of us, the pace and the success of the regime has been just extraordinary. And we're only, what are we, 8, 9, 10, how many months is it? I don't know. Less than a year, certainly. And we've got over a year to the midterms. And they're doing everything, and by they, I mean the regime, the Republican Party, they're doing everything in their power to make the midterms basically meaningless. It's going to be a Russian-style Putin-type election. It's going to be a Hungarian election where we all, lots of parties and lots of speeches, and we all go out and vote, and it's a big show, and we think it's happening, but really, it's been rigged ahead of time. And sure, Republicans won't win 100%, but yeah, there's a real danger that by the time we get to the midterms, it'll be too late. We have to act right now. More than just electoral politics. We can't just be planning for this election that may or may not even come off. Now, if you think I'm being hyperbolic or overly, if I'm Chicken Little, I ask you to go back a few months or a year or a couple of years and listen to the warnings and then compare them to where we are today. There's no such thing. There are no Chicken Littles in this story. Every warning has been met and surpassed to the point now where he's just a stone-cold mass murderer. This blowing to smithereens this speedboat off the coast of Venezuela, good Lord. They gave us absolutely zero evidence. Of course, they claimed they were running drugs on this very small boat. We don't know exactly. Different reports say 11 or 12 or 13 people were on board, killed. We'd have no idea who they are. The regime tells us they were gangsters and drug runners and cartel members, but gave us no evidence. And when is the last time you believed anything the regime told you? So we have no idea who these people were. None. It's ridiculous on its face, this small boat with a dozen people. Where were the drugs? We see this overhead, I don't know, it's a satellite or a drone shot, or I'm not sure how they got that shot from above. Shows us no detail. We can't say how many people are on board, how many men, how many women, how many children possibly. We don't know. No weapons, no drugs. There's nothing we can see. We have nothing to go on except the word of the regime. And are you going to stand there with a straight face and tell me you can believe anything the regime tells you? And let's pretend for a second, let's just pretend for the sake of argument that they were drug runners. Well, they were under surveillance in international waters, nowhere near the coast of the United States. So just blowing them out of the water, dropping a bomb on them, is the right course of action, even if they were drug runners? No. You surveil them, you follow them, you intercept them, board the boat, you arrest them, there are things you do. This is just a crime. This is murder. Even if they are drug runners, you can't just call somebody a terrorist, which is what their favorite thing to do, is to name people. You disagree with the regime, you're labeled an anti-Semite, or you're labeled a terrorist, or, going to Chicago because you just call it an emergency. Everything the regime does is just based on their own bogus claims, all without evidence. And as I said, assuming they were running drugs, you don't kill people for running drugs. You give them due process and you convict them and you put them in jail, or you deport them, or there are lots of legal things you can do. Even if they go through the entire due process and are found guilty, you don't kill them. But here we killed 11 people or 12 people or 13 people. How many men, how many women, how many children, we don't know. We just killed them because the regime said, man, take them out. This is murder. This is criminal. Remember Philippine President Duterte? Remember this guy? This is the kind of thing he was doing. These extrajudicial killings in this so-called war against drug traffickers. He just went out and had people killed. Well, you know where he is now? He's in The Hague. He's in the International Criminal Court waiting for trial. He's behind bars because that's where you put murderers. The Orange Menace said jokingly he could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue. He wasn't joking. This is where we are, you guys. And then in the very same week, he stands up there with his little Fox friend, Pete Hegseth, and they go through this ridiculous sophomoric, moronic, well, not even sophomoric. That gives him too much credit. This is 8, 9-year-old kid stuff. Department of War. Come on. Secretary of War. Oh, man, I don't have the quote in front of me, but Hegseth said something really disturbing where he loves lethality, extreme lethality, rather than timid legality. That was his little play on words. Yeah, we don't like timid legality. We don't like these legal formalities where we have to follow international law or any law. So this is where we are, and it's all one story. The troops in L.A., in D.C., soon in Chicago. It's just raw power. The titans of tech, the oligarchs fawning over the Orange Menace, playing their part in this state corporate cabal, this fascist pairing. Even the things that might seem just silly, they're deeply embedded in the fascist plan. The cultural stuff, hosting the Kennedy Center Awards, criticizing the Smithsonian because slavery really wasn't as bad as they say. Every day there's going to be a new headline, but it's all the same story. It's white supremacy. It's racism. It's sexism. It's power. It's raw power. And I think in order for us to have sufficient numbers, because that's what we need numbers. We need people. We need bodies on the streets, locking arms. I think in order for us to find the ability to fight back effectively, we got to give up the myth. I think most of us have this myth of America that we cling to, the shining city on the hill. We resist the historical analysis. Even though it's undeniable, we just don't want to think about it. We want to find ways to rationalize against the fact that self-described white Europeans, there was no such thing as black and white, until white Europeans literally invented the concept in order to subjugate other people. For the first time in human history, they enslaved people based on the color of their skin. Defenders always want to say, oh, there was always slavery. Yeah, but this was a first. There was slavery based primarily on who won a war. The victors would enslave the losers. This was a brand new concept. So the European invasion of this continent resulted in genocide of the indigenous people who lived here and a brand new kind of white supremacy/slavery. All of it inseparable from this great transition from feudalism to capitalism. This is way too big a topic to start now, but I bring it up only in the context of saying we believe in myths and we're afraid of the truth. And it's impossible to make the changes we need to make while still clinging to that myth of America. The idea of the nation itself, or any nation, of borders in the modern sense. And sure, again, defenders will say, well, there were always tribes and always nations and always people who went to war with each other. And sure, of course. I'm talking about this relatively new concept in human history, and it is relatively new considering how long we've been running around this planet. The idea of nation states and hard borders, coupled with the white supremacy of so-called Western civilization. These are ideas that we're just married to, and we think they are ordained, come from God or something. No, these are human inventions and relatively new ones. So we can't cling to the American myth. This is one of the reasons I'm so critical of the Democratic Party. They are steadfastly committed, undyingly married to the American myth of borders, of growing GDP, of strength, of exceptionalism, of a class system, of a profit system, of, and they don't say this out loud, but of white supremacy. These are all the concepts that we have to get past. We have to get beyond. And it has to be an international mindset, an international fight. The fascist movement is certainly international. The anti-democratic forces, we just saw Modi of India, Putin of Russia, Kim Jong-un of North Korea. I think there were others. I think the president of Iran was there. All got together in this big old summit with Xi of China. Democracy is on the ropes, to say the least. It may well be on its deathbed, to mix some metaphors here. And the Orange Menace and his Republican fascist MAGA regime are right there in the middle of this global movement. So our resistance, our fight, our own movement must also be global. It has to be international. We've got to get past our parochial, xenophobic obsession with the American myth. And a special plea goes out to otherwise well-meaning people, centrists, moderates, Democrats, who I don't think they realize that they are the ones propping up this status quo of white supremacy, of the patriarchy, of sexism, of the lingering and ever-present consequences of slavery still embedded in the system. And they can laugh and they can applaud Stephen Colbert and Seth Meyers and Jon Stewart. And they can think very highly of themselves, that they're on the right side of history. They're on the right team. Completely unaware that they themselves are propping up the very systems that make the Orange Menace and his fascist regime possible. A blind devotion to borders, to nations, to systems, to money, to vapid pop culture. We're sliding deeper and deeper into a world where people like the Orange Menace can jail, imprison, harass, and yes, kill his enemies, just like he blew that Venezuelan boat out of the water and its dozen inhabitants, where he and his minions can do this without consequence. We're sliding into a world where that's just the day-to-day. Freedom from want, freedom from fear, none of it guaranteed or even promised, but rather granted by an authoritarian. No rights are assumed. No rights are guaranteed. No, all rights are either granted or taken away at the whim of the regime, up to and including your very life. And when they're murdering people on the high seas, when they're kidnapping people off the street based on the color of their skin and tossing them into concentration camps, these are no longer warnings. These are the daily headlines. So I thank the people who are in the fight. If you're not in the fight, I'm not going to scold you. I'm not going to criticize you. I'm going to ask you to join the fight. Not just in spirit, not just with the right prayers and thoughts, but with your body. It's going to take action. It's going to take sacrifice, conscious decisions about how you work, where you work, how you spend your money, where you spend your money, and where you put your body. On the street or on the couch. No, I'm not going to scold anybody. But I am asking. So get together with your people. I hope you've joined a few organizations by now. There's always something going on. Every day of the week there's some sort of protest happening. Find it, join it. Coming up the week of September 16th through the 20th, blackout the system. For those of you who can, We the People Act Now, suggesting a week-long economic blackout, September 16th through the 20th. The greater the numbers, the bigger the impact on the 1%. Blackouts impact the stock market, Wall Street tycoons, the billionaires, and the tyrant. If you can only do one day, choose 9/17, September 17th. That's Constitution Day. Okay, that's a good day to commemorate. 9th, I didn't know about that. September 17th, Constitution Day. So We the People suggesting a week-long blackout, or at least on the 17th if you can. If you're anywhere near Chicago, there are things happening there every day, and especially they're keeping an eye on the National Guardsmen, troops that have already been deployed. I guess the staging area is the Great Lakes Naval Base. But they haven't officially hit the streets yet, and when they do, everyone's going to be ready. I know I've seen lots of local notices here in Milwaukee that activists are at the ready. As soon as boots hit the ground in Chicago, protesters' boots will hit the ground here in Milwaukee at least. So wherever you are, check the information there. I think I mentioned earlier, October 18th is the next big No Kings Day. Their goal is to make it bigger than the first. Please don't be cynical about the mass rallies. They're not going to do the job all by themselves, but I will not diminish their importance. It's fantastic to see everybody out and about and with each other. It's important. Don't get cynical about that. Okay, so again, check your local information. Always something going on. Thanks a lot for listening. You can find this and all episodes on the website, charlespurcell.com, or on your favorite podcast platform. Find me on Substack and Blue Sky. Write to me, charlespurcell@gmail.com. Thanks to our flagship terrestrial station, River West Radio, here in Milwaukee. Theme song composed and performed by Peter Donalds. All right, there it is. I love you. I'll see you out there.